you to
You are now running up against the tighthead version of Steve. There is mass here, my boy.
My founder.
Stop sitting on the fence, man.
I decided.
We're going to be rich. We're going to sign big players.
Can we just say, Wes, we backed you because we think that you're better.
No, Wes.
Be better, Wes. Come on, Wes.
Where's your hope?
There's nothing better in this world than watching a tight head do his job.
I mean, comments like that, all good and well. Lovely to start a podcast. The coach of Springboks.
Gentlemen, are you well?
Yeah, lekker.
Wes looking a bit shorter hair, bit of thing. Big welcome back, Mr. Mitchley.
Thank you.
After making your debut on the watch long, we thought we'd have to get you on the Mad Show because I think this is a show that's made for the likes of you.
Yeah, it's nice
Read
to have
into that
some
what you
friends.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
we'll struggle through the hour.
Yeah, let's take that with a bit of salt there.
Renaldo?
Pinch of salt. How's it going, Stevie? Yeah, good. Very exciting, obviously, break ahead for us from all of the rugby.
Yeah, 2 weeks of no internationals. It's going to be a bit strange after what's been a very...
No, it's actually very sad. I'm so dull.
Yeah, we're gonna have to just deal with a bit of Curry Cup action. Even in the 20s is done as well. Suffering from success is probably where we're at as a country.
Oh, I've been waiting for Rassie to announce a squad, and it still hasn't happened.
Tuesday, 6 o'clock, and we used to usually having a full breakdown in the last year by now. But lads, another good weekend of rugby, and let's get into the breakdown, shall we?
Awesome.
Welcome to the breakdown, and this week more Nations Championship action as well as a bit of under 20 action to get through. And I mean, if you wear green and gold these days, you don't lose much. But let's quickly go through some of the results, and we'll talk about some of the key rugby stories from the past week. New Zealand beating Ireland.
Oof, what a shock!
Got a bit close there towards the end there. France hammering Japan. Australia beating Italy quite substantially. Nice return and a bit of a send-off there from Joe Schmidt. England getting one over Argentina. Controversial, we'll go into that. Scotland eventually beating Fiji after a bit of a scare. And then 43 points to 0 Boks up against Wales. Ren, let's dive into that Scotland-England game. I think it was probably the most contentious one of the weekend. Lots of interesting refereeing situations. We've got an Argentina side which decided to, I love the banter of bringing out a Maradona-styled jersey, just after they've knocked England out of the World Cup, and they bring that. But England did get their revenge. Interesting game.
Yeah, I suppose you always have to consider all the factors. Obviously, trying to play mind games, trying to just get under England's skin. I mean, England obviously travelling there, hostile environment. You've always, got to be up for the task. And I think the English rose to the occasion. I think it was quite disappointing to see Argentina kind of bow out to the fight in the sense of being clinical and taking their points, not giving away penalties in specific areas, and when they've got their 22 entries. So I think it was really disappointing that they had the upper hand in the game and then kind of threw it away. Yes, controversial referee decisions, and I understand that there's a lot of that, but if you have all of the odds in your favour, even Maradona's luck.
No hand of God this time.
But that's what I'm saying, luck, but so that was kind of disappointing. I just don't like the fact that they threw it away in the end, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, just weren't there in the first half. Connor, the post-match scenes, some almost boxing of some referees, some choice words.
Yeah, I mean, where do we start? That's never nice to see in a game of rugby, but you do love to see it.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of entertainment factor. Yeah. We condemn it, and you can't go after the referee like that.
Absolutely
not. Look, I do think the TMO situation was farcical when you've got a referee who's basically saying, I'm not seeing enough to overturn it, so I'm thinking try, and the TMO is saying no. And I worry, should a TMO be taking that sort of step where the referee is seeing it? Surely we still want the referees to be making decisions.
You know what is the TMO there for? The TMO is there to assist the referee. So if the referee is not allowed to make a decision, then what's the point of having the TMO? The TMO is there to assist the referee. The referee, at the end of the day, there's a reason why they say to the referee, have a look at the screen.
Yeah.
So if we don't want the referee to make decisions, then the guy should just say, how's it, ref? Look, this is the call.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bigger point because you do. And you'll say, listen, I'm going to show you something.
Yeah.
This has happened, just by the way, so that you can make your decision. The fact that he said several times, I'm not seeing enough, I think it's a try, and the TMO, and this is where it's going to get murky because as a TMO, you can give your input, but he basically was not going to allow the game to continue or finish until that try was not awarded.
100%. 100%. The referee is there to make decisions. If he's not going to be allowed to make decisions, let's just get rid of referees, make it AI, and once in a while a screen will come up and it can go try, no try, happy, cool, carry on.
Yeah, Renaldo, I know referees are an interesting topic. We're going to get into it in Rugby Unlocked this week, but Renaldo had a bit of a meltdown on our WhatsApp group during the day about some of the refereeing decisions during the day. But just, that particular moment, we won't go into some of all the other refereeing issues, but that particular moment, I mean, are you sitting there saying if the TMO vehemently agrees, or do you think there needs to be a line on what he can and can't?
Yeah, the law is quite clear. There needs to be an on-field decision. If an on-field decision is overruled, there needs to be clear evidence to overrule an on-field decision. There weren't clear evidence. That's why.
Well, I'm not according to the team.
but you get what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
it's all about following the same procedures. So for me, if the lawmakers or the ones enforcing the law, which is obviously the referees, if they are going to be inconsistent, then that means the players and the coaches, as well as the spectators, don't know what to expect. And that is something that I'm not necessarily a fan of. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on this show with regard to the referees, in the various games, because there were various other incidents in various games. But again, we've got a protocol, and we speak about policies often. The policy is there so that you can implement it and you can follow it, so that we can actually have a consistency throughout. Because you've got school kids watching, rugby, you've got amateurs watching rugby, and you've got your avid, I know guys that are on MyPicks that obviously make their picks, and they want to, have a nice, good result at the end of the day. And sometimes,
I picked Argentina to win. I was fuming.
Correct. So there's various aspects to a decision that's made by an official. If it's not consistently adjudicated, then it becomes really, really complicated.
Yeah, I really didn't enjoy the fact that he was just not going to accept anything besides what he had decided when the referee had asked for the assistance, had looked at it myself, and look, he did say, look, you've got the HD screen obviously, but what I'm seeing is I'm not seeing clear and obvious, and then the TMO is saying, no, I am seeing, and now you're at a simple difference of opinion, and I still think if there's a difference of opinion, you've got to back the on-field referee, unless he can't see it. Yep. And, we don't want to get to a situation like football where now you're going to have a screen on the side, which is, inverted commas, HD. But I'm sorry, a screen like that, you would have been able to see enough to make the call. And I think it was 50-50. I think that there's an argument that can be made that it was out. There's an argument that can be made that it wasn't out. As you say, the on-field call was try. They needed to find categorically this was not a try. And I don't think you could have said categorically that was a try. So I think the Argentines were right to be aggrieved. Behavior afterwards, and I tweeted at the time, or posted, or whatever you do on X these days. I said, I'll be surprised. We've just seen the ban on Caseda from Italy after he said the referees were poor. And I said, I'll be very surprised if Contaponi isn't looking at a ban after this. And it turns out he did storm out of the press conference, but not because of the refereeing decisions, because he heard music, celebrating and singing coming from the English change room.
Already gave you the
Henry Pollock's influence on rugby's got massive.
Yeah.
all I know is that I can't sing for anything, but I was willing to give that a shot. But
I think, in fairness to although England did the same thing after they beat Fiji, but Contaponi he's such a typical Argentinian. He's exactly what you think of an Argentinian player and coach. It's just passion. Yeah. We were in the room when somebody asked him, why did you go speak to the referee at half time after the Mobella test a couple of years ago? And he said, who told you that? That was nonsense. And basically went after a journalist, and we sat there going, oh.
I love it.
So he's a big character. But I think the nice thing is, again, you don't want to applaud the actions, but I love seeing a bit of controversy, a bit of the passion, a bit of, sometimes things can become a bit mundane. And I think we get too caught up in the rugby as a hooligans game played by gentlemen, where we don't allow for a bit of niggle and a bit of extra, obviously to a certain point, but that's the same why I say I don't mind the Henry Pollock vibe. We need more drama, because it is drama at the end of the day. It's sport, but I mean, it's a theatre. It is a theatre.
Stevie, we wouldn't have jobs in this game if there was no drama and theatre.
Correct.
We imagine every week we all agreed on every single opinion. We all agreed on everything. Podcasts wouldn't be a thing. Supersport wouldn't even have a job.
Yeah.
What would ex-rugby players do besides watch rugby?
That's a wild shot.
Yeah.
I love that. It's brilliant.
If we all went yes, everything that happened, completely agree with. I loved it. I'm so glad we all guessed the exact right score and it went according to the script.
And we all agree that should have been a yellow card, but it wasn't, and that's okay. No, we need
End of show. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Exactly. Very, very controversial decisions across the board. The Boks. It's not a ground that we are known for high scoring. I'd like to think that weather conditions obviously did play its role because I think it was 19 handling errors. Renaldo, far from our best performance. There's been a bit of a panic from some fans about how poor it was. I think how much context goes into that performance, because at the end of the day, it is job done. It is a Welsh side which is not particularly good, better than they were. But I just feel like surely we can't complain after a 43-0, even within the mistakes.
Yeah, you've got to, again, look at the context of the depth that we're building. The reason why players are allowed to perform at high levels in 3 months' time is because they've been allowed to have a go in specific games. If you look at Amani Lobok, before 2023's World Cup, he was allowed to have a go. So a lot of players need that just to get out of their system. Again,
I mean, I think he was a good case of the dangers if you don't. The fact that we went over with just him. Exactly.
So you've got to look at the bigger picture, and unfortunately, as a fan, and I know we're upset about not being clinical, Connor, but it's a situation of, do you understand how we can get 5 fly-offs that are match fit, 5 scrum-offs that are match fit, 5 locks that are in specific, you've got to understand, okay, when we do, because you can't take in November, you can't still be bleeding players. November, you've got to be finishing off the Nations Champs. You've got to finish that off in style, so that next year you hit that with a bang. And I mean, so it's about now already ticking the boxes so that you obviously you don't have to stress about this later. Not saying that there's no room for more players to be capped, so for me it's more than that.
But I think we almost are at the end to a certain degree. We've got the Greatest Rivalry Tour now. We're not going to blood play. We might give some players a chance, but we're not looking at the Greatest Rivalry saying it'd be really nice to get an under 20 cap during one of these games. Same at the end of the year. We're now into, as far as I'm concerned, we are into full World Cup cycle now.
Correct. Yeah.
This is now everything. Obviously, Greatest Rivalry Tour for me is you play your best teams, you win that tournament, and then we are fully into who's going next year. And I think what we've done is we've given it a look. We've tried a few players, because certain players like Avusimo or Yaka Williams, they're not going on the plane next year at this stage. But if there are 3-4 injuries, at least if they have to be called in, they have had that taste. Surely we're into World Cup mode.
100%. I mean, on the weekend we had 4 debutants. I don't see us going into games, especially not against New Zealand, with any debutants. Towards the end of the year, maybe at a push, the Italy game. But again, at a push, it's so close to that World Cup cycle. It's so close to crunch time that I think now Rassie has his team for that play next year. And yes, there's a couple of asterisks next to a couple of guys' names, but those are in case of emergency. That's that break the glass button.
New Zealand 2011, Stephen Donald and all the likes, where they were busy pulling fly halves literally off fishing boats.
100%. 100%. We've blooded probably, our 5th fly half in the last 2 years. Okay, well, not blooded, but we've blooded a new fly half. We've now got another guy to pick from, who, first of all, I thought against the Barbarians looked like he had been there for 70 caps. Was a bit shakier this weekend, but still not an awful performance. He's been there, he's done that. It's no longer going to be this massive occasion. He's now a Springbok.
Yes, he can wear the blazer.
He is a Springbok. It's not this big occasion, should he need to get called up later on in the year, next year, called to the World Cup for whatever reason, that this is very early on. And so, like you mentioned, a lot of handling errors, not our best performance. But imagine being out of both hemispheres, the side with 15 points and the most in points difference, while still not being at your best.
Yeah, I think 130 points in across 3 games. And I think what's also very interesting, he's been capped for the Boks now, Vusi Moyer. The pressure that puts on like the Sharks, for example, to now start picking and backing him. And there was almost a bit of the situation we saw at the Stormers where Sasha wasn't getting a lot of game time and being moved a lot, 10, 12, 15. And the Boks, and they do, the Boks speak to the union and say, listen, ideally, can we try and put this player? And I know that they spoke to the Lions and said, can you put Ruan Venter at 4? We need options. Can you trial him there? And the Lions said, yeah, we can give it a go. But now, first of all, there's a bit of pressure that the Sharks play Vusi Moyer a bit more, so he gets some of that experience. But I also think now he'll go back to the Sharks knowing this is what Test Rugby is a little bit about. Now this is what I need to work on. So he'll be a much better player just from these few weeks within the Bok camp in a year's time, even if he doesn't play another second of international rugby.
Yeah, you sometimes, I think, overlook the fact that the Springboks have got a different criteria in terms of what players need to have in terms of their game preparedness, preparation, whatever terminology you want to use. A lot of times we think that unions always follow that program. A lot of players do get played out of position and they've got their own mandate. So I think JP and them have got a plan with Vusi. They've got the way in which they'll structure their campaign, because they've got to also win their domestic comp as well as their...
Well, I mean, they're Sharks, so they won't. But
so that's all good and well. The interesting part about that is if you bleed a player, what does it mean for that union? You get what I'm saying? So now you've got a fly-off that's able to play Springboks and whatever the case may be. Their revenue goes up. Because remember, now it's a Springbok, there's more money pumped into them. They can use that for their juniors as well as their other development structure. So when I see Springboks being selected from a specific, and again, it's the way in which South African the structure is now, that union is actually being bolstered highly. So that's for me the more exciting part, is that there's more resources to that union.
So what you're saying is, with all the Boks players coming from the Lions now, we're going to be rich, we're going to sign big players, and we're going to win the Champions Cup. I'm all for that. Well,
so you guys are moving Ellis Park to somewhere safer as well.
Can I just say, there's a reason why the Lions head coach's name is Cash. No, I'm just teasing.
Well, we've got Bone Fenter coming, so looking forward to our thing. But yeah, guys, it's another good weekend, I think. Yeah, I don't think we can ever complain about that. I mean, the stats speak for themselves. We dominated every single aspect of it. All the debuts looked very comfortable. And, I mean, I think it was like 60-odd players used across how many of these got the game and stuff like that. So we were looking very, very good, very healthy.
11 wins in a
row. We've beaten every single team in the top 10. We've basically won the Grand Slam and the likes of that. So life is pretty good as a Bok fan.
And then on that, the juniors have now gone back-to-back, fair enough, but also have not lost since 2024.
There we go.
Crazy, yeah?
So
easy stuff, this rugby game.
Yeah, easy. Yeah, when you're in South Africa, the game becomes very, very easy.
Makes for an interesting watch. Very nice.
Yeah, well, it's just good times. And long may it continue. Right, lads, the loose trio. Fast and quick news stories in the rugby world. And a very interesting one. Could have been a very sad story. But yesterday, the Junior Boks got back from winning back-to-back World Championships. All we do is win. And on their way back, after getting to Artambo, a bunch of them got onto a flight to Cape Town, where a passenger collapsed on the flight. However, SA Under-20 team doctor Clement Plaatjes was on hand, resuscitated the passenger. They turned the plane around and handed over the passenger to emergency services. So doesn't matter where we are in South Africa rugby, they just keep clutching up, eh?
Fantastic stuff. Just imagine, the stress that I think the passengers would have experienced. And again, pressure moments, South Africa clutching up and just showing that they care about the nation. I think that was probably one of the hallmarks of, I think, this current era, is just being present and just showing up for the country. So that's awesome.
No, 100%. I mean, luckily she's still with us, and it's good to hear. So hopefully she makes a good recovery.
Yeah, so big shout out to Clement Plaatjes and medal on Saturday, saving lives on Monday. They're never off duty.
No rest for the wicked.
And well, speaking of rest, some people are saying that they reckon that there could be a lot of rest for Siya Kolisi. Several people talking about the fact that this last 3 matches has spelled the end of our Springbok captain's career due to the performance of Paul de Villiers.
Yeah, that's exactly how rugby works. You get injured, you never play again. You've won 2 World Cups as the captain, and just that's your time's done, Sia. Might as well go play for the Lions. That's where we send all our retirees.
I mean, I'm not adverse to that situation. if that's what
you guys can't afford him, Stevie.
No, we can't.
But no, Paul de Villiers, another one. Great, going to be incredible in the future, but you cannot replace what Siya Kolisi brings for this side. Rassie said it himself, handling errors this weekend. Imagine losing your most capped test player and your captain and still having to go forward. Most teams would crumble at that. Yes, we have great rugby players that can step up, but they cannot do what Siya Kolisi can still do for this team.
Yeah, Ren, even from a rugby point of view, from a player point of view, I always think he's never been appreciated, a bit like I said to John Smith, from a rugby perspective. I mean, Paul de Villiers, I think, is blown the lights out. I look at him and think he's the perfect bomb squad member, personally. But, I mean, first test against the All Blacks, Siya wins out, surely.
I always ask myself the question, what information do people use to make their kind of speculations? Because you listen to what Siya said in the press conference as well. It is a step up for a lot of the players that have been in the Springbok camps over the years to have a burst of new energy in there. So it is awesome to see players, play and, like you said, shoot the lights out. It doesn't take away from the fact that those players that have been there in the camp for a long time also do that and they perform at that level. To what your point is, Connor, is that it just raises the bar. And imagine the bar just being raised higher and higher and higher. So for me, it's positive. I mean, comments like that, all good and well. Lovely. Go start a podcast. Go coach your Springboks.
Careful, because they will these days. That's the problem. Everyone's got a starting podcast, including us. I mean,
check, at least we've got our facts straight. So that's the one thing that I think is nice. And we've got producer James that makes sure that we are ever ready with the correct information.
Yeah, I think it's interesting you mentioned that Siya spoke about it. I mean, he actually mentioned Paul de Villiers, and he said, because apparently he shot the lights out in the fitness tests. He was the leading player.
Cameron Honeycomb did the same thing.
Yeah.
Again, Kwagga Smith back in the day did the same thing. Cheslin, when he came back from Japan, did the same thing. There was a time, I remember, Ulrich Lowe, when he was still fit and ready, he was phenomenal in terms of what just the battle stats that he produced within training. So there's a lot of players that, and it's interesting, and this is something that maybe a lot of the rugby purists would enjoy. The training methodology is a lot more intense than what match fitness is. So sometimes you get trained so hard, or you train so hard that when you get to the match, the theory is always that it almost becomes a breeze.
Yeah.
So if you train harder, you'll become a lot better in terms of practice. So a lot of, I think, we miss out on a lot of those, and we used to have Tuesday contact sessions. You miss out on seeing, and I think producer James being at some of the training sessions, you get to see how intense certain things are. So it's quite unfortunate that I think not a lot of our South African public sometimes know the real story as to how rugby players are produced and what makes them professionals.
Yeah, bottom line is Siya is captaining us at Great Rugby Tour, and
at the World Cup,
and we'll be lifting the World Cup next year.
Correct.
Provided he can stay injury free, no doubt.
Look, I mean, he basically rebuilt his knee and he was playing rugby like a month later. And probably, and whatever they did to the knee, whatever the bionic knee is, I mean, I'll never forget the match where he came back and everybody said, "Oh, is he going to be able to be fit enough?" And he looked probably the best player I've ever seen him.
100%.
But sorry, I want to make this point. Back in the day, Skalkberger had an unfortunate incident where you in for an op before, I think, that 2015 World Cup, I think it was 2024. And then he had a bit of a complication, then he was out. And then he made his comeback, and he was one of the best offloading players, and he was one of the best soft skill players that came back. Siya Kolisi, after coming back from the injury, was able to pass the ball, move the ball in space. Sometimes, players develop through their, career as a rugby player. Injuries sometimes help you refine your skill, because you don't just get injured and just lay there.
Yeah.
You actually work with the coaches.
Yeah.
That's why Stick, as an off-the-ball coach, is so good. Felix Jones, very technical, sound coach as well. So there's a lot of things that you learn. So even if players do go through injuries, doesn't mean that they're going to be out completely.
As I said, I mean, if you can't take contact for 2 months, you can still pass the ball, you can still pop, you can still, as you said, focus on a lot of that. And then probably one of the best stories of the week, our baby Boks. No Vusi Moya, no Riley Norton, no Ziaya, no Guillaume, no Jaco Williams, no Penn, everything. All of these players that didn't even
The
travel.
writing's on the wall.
The writing's there. And, I mean, they didn't even look like they missed them.
It was close in the first half, and then they just showed why they are the reigning world champs in that second half.
Despite the 3 ruled out tries.
100%. Again, we can't go into refereeing decisions, Steve. We have to agree with what the referees say.
Well, in fairness, we're probably not allowed to use the language that Yakin Ahmed used after his trial was ruled out.
Probably not recommended, but how good are those boys? Those guys can step up at any point and be Springboks, like Vusi Moyo proved this weekend. The pipeline coming through a young age, and we're talking even from primary school level at this point, is incredible. And these baby Boks are going to get better and better and better year on year.
I mean, when we spoke about this a while back in terms of how the under-20 coaches would be feeling, given the fact that suddenly they don't have several of their players they maybe would have been banking on beginning of the year. And you mentioned, but with the other options, how will they cope? Well, they coped.
But that's what the exact point of a development system is: step up, Yakin Ahmed, step up, Felix. There's a lot of players that now has the opportunity to say that I was there, I was in the trenches, and I was able to get obviously famous. Back to back. Imagine we've gone there and we lost. A lot of critics would have said, "Did we not do the right thing?" So it's phenomenal. But again, compliment to I think the coaching staff, Kevin Foot, Malusim Tetwa, the guys have done phenomenal in understanding what combinations to pick. Remember, they went across here. Yakin wasn't allowed to play the first game.
Yeah.
People forget that he got a red card in the Barbarians game.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to play that first game. So again, you have your combinations and just them trusting their system. And again,
Guillaume's red card only got rescinded on the Thursday, and they made a decision saying it's too late. We've trained without you. We've got to back the boys.
Correct. And I think as a South African public, we sometimes don't appreciate, and if you do get a chance to see some of these, staff members as well as players in public, wherever you are in Cape Town, whatever, just go up to them and just ask them to tell you what it was like. Because obviously there'll be a documentary or whatever. But hearing the story sometimes just makes, again, unfortunately, one of the Junior Boks that played in, I think, and I forget his name now, he unfortunately passed on. He was one of, Yakin, he was one of the Wynberg boys. And then, again, that semi-final they played was for him because of the way in which, so there's a lot of stories that are there. And again, it's not just a linear, growth process. There's a lot of, work that gets done with them.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Look, it's a phenomenal system. We bring so many players through. The squads are bigger. There's more alignment camps. There's more opportunities. We're finally, I think, converting our schoolboy system, which has always been top notch, especially in the last 10 years. And now we've just got this basically catwalk of players just walking off and into teams. So we'll have to wait and see whether we can go 3 in a row. But I'll tell you what, if I was a betting man, I wouldn't be betting against them. But we'll find that out all next year. Nice. Gentlemen, I think we need to get into some contentious stuff. I'm going to head into the mall.
Lovely.
Let's do it.
Excited.
Right, welcome to the mall. This segment we're basically going to break down some contentious topic of the year. This week I've got a very interesting one, and I think that the All Black fans and the South African fans will be pretty united for this one, and that is the Nations Championship fundamentally flawed? I'm going to pose a couple of questions as to why. First of all, if you look at the log, South Africa, New Zealand, 15 points at the top, France leading the Northern Hemisphere at 12. So right now it would be a South Africa versus France final, despite the fact that the All Blacks have beaten France, haven't lost a game, have got bonus points and such. So at this stage, we might not see the top 2 teams in the world play against each other, which they basically, I think the justification was, well, it's not a World Cup, so that's not the point. But I think that they fundamentally overestimate this North versus South rivalry, because I don't think I always align. If Scotland's playing the All Blacks or Italy's playing the All Blacks, I'm rooting for Scotland or Italy most of the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, in terms of the format, do we think that now we're seeing the flaws of the Nations Championship, now that we've got 3 rounds?
Yeah, I think go back to round 1 when we had the conversation and we asked the question, what is the purpose of such a competition? Is it just to, once and for all squash this banter about who's better, north or south, or is it actually to promote the game? And again, my point was, if you want to do if you want to generate more revenue for World Rugby, if you want to, develop the game, if you want to do it, use your second tier nations and have that comp. Let your likes of Georgia, Portugal, and those guys, pump them, bring them to the different areas of the world, put them in, the spotlight, invest in them. Now we're doing this and becoming like, meh. Is it actually nice? No, it's not really nice. We've got the world's greatest rivalry coming up just on our. I mean, the British Irish Lions, and another story that I actually just remembered now is that there might be a conversation about the Club World Cup happening in 2029, just before the British and Irish Lions tour, which is also going to be like. So for me, after 3 rounds of seeing rugby kind of unfold, I just don't see the value that South Africa, New Zealand, and even I think the likes of Australia and Ireland, and I want to use Ireland as well, that they have in there, because Ireland is now, they've travelled, they played against Japan in Australia, which is also interesting. So there's a lot of factors in it, and I don't know, Connie, if you want to maybe add on to that. There's so many variables that you just like, it doesn't make sense.
Look, I couldn't agree more. And I think what happens now I don't know, when I was a kid, I looked forward to playing England in 3 test matches in June. And going.
I think the biggest point is we lost our way with regards to that. We moved towards 2-match series and stuff like that.
100%. But what happened to playing England 3 times at home, Ellis Park, Loftus, seeing what England had at their best, Ireland at their best. And then another thing is, you're never going to get France at their best in the middle of the year. We know that. It's the end of their season. They tend to pick, I don't want to call it a B-side, but they tend to blood some players around this time. So now New Zealand have played this France B-side, but when we play them, it's going to be the beginning of their season. It's them getting ready for Six Nations. Okay, not so worried about Six Nations next year, but they're getting into their World Cup cycle. We play France at their best. Yes, will we beat them? Highly likely. We showed it last year in December that we can beat them. But now all of a sudden your top 2 teams out of the Northern and Southern Hemisphere, it's likely going to be 2 Southern Hemisphere teams. And yes, we have rugby's greatest rivalry, but that's no final. Is it now an accolade to win the Nations Championship? Do you go, look guys, we're the best in the world, like at the end of the World Cup? What is that feeling? How do we look at it going forward? And I don't see the value. Like Ren mentioned, is use your tier 2 nations for building rugby, for building it from a grassroots level up. There's no real value in winning the Nations Championship in my eyes. I don't see myself celebrating winning the Nations Championship the same way I would celebrate a World Cup. And even to an extent, the same way I would celebrate winning the Rugby Championship. I mean, that's a historic tournament where we got to play these guys home and away. You're playing, Fiji, for example, haven't played a game at home. They're based in Cardiff and in England. What benefit is that to the likes of Fiji? How has that hindered them in performing at the level they possibly could have? We saw how well they played against Scotland this weekend. Maybe a little bit of home ground advantage. Having my family, my friends supporting me gives me that little bit more of an oomph.
So, and logistically, it's a nightmare. Ben and I was speaking about it, saying, I had a chuckle because they travelled back to England and then they went to Argentina. So, in terms of people who had tough travels, I'm not sure they can really complain. I think Scotland, who went Argentina here, and then admittedly had to head back to Scotland. So there were some teams that definitely did a lot more travelling. But I think the problem is logistically, the Southern Hemisphere sides are so far away. When you've got Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, Argentina, Japan suddenly being in the Southern Hemisphere, but not always playing at home. So I think it's a bit of a logistical nightmare as well. I think it'll be interesting to see how this format might change, where they might look towards maybe possible neutral venues, or potentially maybe making almost everybody travel kind of around, and you kind of sort of sit there. Again, it becomes very expensive. I also think that at the moment, as you said, it's World Cup time next year. So I don't think we've seen any of the coaches really take it that seriously. We certainly haven't. I mean, we've obviously want to win, but
You telling me that wasn't an A-side 3 weeks in a row?
with our
Paul de Villiers is playing ahead of Siya Kolisi. He's the next Springbok captain.
there we go. Maybe he's the current Springbok captain. Well, he did captain the Junior Boks, so the next Springbok captain could be a decent shout. But yeah, I remain unconvinced.
Yeah.
We'll see. I think the only time we'll probably enjoy the Nations Championship, whilst we might not get the exact games we want, is that weekend of, if you're in like a London, for example, and you can go and watch all those games, bang, 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 bang. That I think will be good fun.
Yeah, it's going to be a mini World Cup for certain people that
Yeah.
get the opportunity to go watch. So that's going to be fun. You know, again, commercially, like I mentioned last time as well, commercially, World Rugby will generate revenue, and that's okay. That's all good for them. Just from a rugby point of view, that just doesn't make sense yet.
Right, well, there we go. 3 thumbs down from us so far. We'll have to wait and see at the end of the year whether this starts to make a bit more sense or at least starts to generate a bit more excitement. But for now, we remain unconvinced. Yeah, literally. Right, welcome to Try or Lie. We just had to give Connor the breakdown and educate him on how it all kind of works. I think, yeah, we're not entirely sure if he's colorblind, so we'll see if this does work. The essential for you guys, and definitely not just to remind Connor, is producer James will be asking us a string of questions. If we agree, it gets a try. If we don't agree, it gets a lie. And exciting news, Renaldo, you're on episode 4 here. We will be having official paddles coming in next week. So everyone's working on their system so they can try and remember. I mean, I don't think we've struggled with this so far. So
we haven't struggled.
Yeah, we should be fine.
We're all good. But an important rule: please do not be sitting on the fence. Make your decision.
Correct. No, Wes.
Make your decision.
Yeah.
Wes, please, we do miss you, but make your decision.
Literally.
By the way, when are you making your decision, Wes?
Yeah, and where are our videos? We're going to have a conversation about
100%.
Wes. Right, producer James, what have you got for us?
Okay, so we've got Rassie Erasmus is the single most influential figure in rugby history.
Like figure or coach?
Figure.
Rassie for president.
Yeah.
Justify yourselves.
I mean, Webb Ellis is probably. Man, he did pick up the ball.
Maybe.
So I'm going to go Webb Ellis, Rassie. But as far as I'm concerned, it was still black and white. So I'll back the Rassie. Right, you defend your choice.
No, thank you for telling me what my answer should be, right? No, I definitely think we've got to look at William Webb Ellis. And I mean, no, I'm being serious, because a lot of times we kind of, and Rassie is good, fair enough, but there's been phenomenal coaches that have been there before him, and they'll be there after him. But I'm just talking about the game of rugby wouldn't have been rugby if it wasn't for the people that started it. So for me, I'm still back by founders.
Wow, but that's multiple people.
Stop
My
sitting,
founder.
Stop sitting on the fence, right?
I decided. William Webb Ellis.
Yeah, Ronaldo's great. He's got a little picture in his room, and he wakes up and he goes, "You biscuit."
You
No,
weren't,
literally.
You weren't there. How do you even know he picked up the ball?
You see, the beauty of storytelling is you tell what the story was of the person that did it the first time.
Yeah. Right, William Webb Ellis, you are still immortalized here, but Rassie's coming for you.
Name a better story than chasing the sun.
Okay, documented.
I didn't say
Yeah.
story, Ren. Story.
There's multiple. I mean, imagine just Doc Craven's story. I just think there's a lot of good stories that have not been documented. And I'm talking about the way in which Chasing the Sun was documented. I mean, just England, for example, them going, I mean, again, there's a lot of beautiful stories. If it's not documented, it feels like it doesn't exist.
Agreed. Okay, so Rassie Ronaldo hates Rassie.
Yeah, no, don't touch me.
That's what we've taken from this. Ronaldo's saying Rassie out.
I know
Heineken Meyer in.
I know Rassie will agree with me when I say the following. I don't hate him. I just think you'll agree that there are a lot more people that need recognition.
Yeah, I probably will because he's too humble. Yeah.
Rassie for president.
Okay, you can judge a player's entire personality by how they celebrate scoring a try.
Trying to think of some of the celebrations.
The entire personality is the words they used. Literally, you're supposed to make a decision, Steve.
Well,
Come on. It's not that complicated.
Says you, who went into the founders and started naming half the people that ever played the game. Yeah, I mean, I think probably a lie for me. I mean, I don't think Henry Pollock's I think he's probably quite a nice person in person, but
I'd disagree with you. Henry Pollock would be such a cool guy after scoring his try, but not going to use those words on camera. What he really is.
Oh, I love it. It's brilliant. Oh.
Right, I think it's a lie all around there.
Okay. After the first 3 rounds of the Nations Championship, does the statement Northern Hemisphere rugby is visually more boring compared to Southern Hemisphere game still hold true?
Ooh.
Currently, yes. That's definitely.
Yeah, that's the point of round 3.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So he
Yeah.
says that
So-
Northern Hemisphere rugby is.
Do we need to explain the paddles to Ren again?
Are you saying that Northern Hemisphere rugby is more exciting?
I'm saying that they've improved, so meaning it's more exciting.
No,
But-
man.
but
More
the statement
exciting
was
than
made.
Southern Hemisphere
Yes,
rugby.
that was the question.
We need
No,
to
no.
explain the paddles to Ren.
Now read this. I don't want producer James to repeat himself, but just listen.
After the first 3 rounds of the Nations Championship, does the statement Northern Hemisphere rugby is visually more boring compared to Southern Hemisphere game still hold true?
More boring.
Than
Yes.
Southern Hemisphere. Someone explain the paddles to Ren.
He just doesn't want to. How are you saying that their rugby is more exciting to
Than
watch?
Southern
than
Hemisphere rugby.
Yes, because there's a lot of topics that we can talk about there.
Name one Northern Hemisphere team that fought with the refs this weekend.
Yeah, I see. Boring.
Boring.
No, it's not boring. It's fantastic that you have got Ireland. Okay, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to go into storytelling.
Nah.
Nah.
Southern Hemisphere is vibes. Look at Argentina. No tactics, just vibes.
The water boy is often the most stressed person in the entire stadium.
Well, it definitely was when Rusty was the water boy. Going back out there.
Why do you say it's a lie?
There's nothing more stressed than a loose head scrumming against a South African tight head.
Well, I suppose in a general sense, you make a very good point.
No, imagine having to tackle Jasper Wiese.
But are you the water boy tackling him? The water boy is definitely not more stressed than that guy tackling Kobus
I don't
Wiese.
know. Have you seen the clip of Eddie Jones saying, "Get the fucking tea out there"? The guys are panicking.
Also, I mean, yeah. So, okay, yeah, that's a lie.
Guys are panicking.
Might be a stress tactic, but still.
Put it this way, I don't think I actually enjoy it. If they said, "Listen, can you run water with the box?" Then I'd say, "Absolutely not."
I don't think I could carry all of
So-
it and run.
So let me give you more context. The water boy is not just there to carry on water. You're literally giving information. So
Yeah.
if you give the wrong information,
Correct.
you basically stuff up. That's why Rassi back in the day used lights, because I'm not saying the guys gave wrong information, but
He said we're doing this move, they did that move, and the water boy went, "Oh, it might have been on me."
yeah.
Imagine being a tight head scrumming against Frans Malherbe in his pomp and thinking, I've got to go forward. And then halfway through it thinking, I just got to make sure that my head doesn't end up in my pupil.
Look, you make a half decent point, but I'm still backing the stress of the water boy. I think we should have one more.
Yeah. And we've got Renaldo
Yep.
would absolutely run over Stephen in Run It Straight.
I'm on the fence. I need to see this live. I'm on the fence.
Would absolutely run over. Does it have to be a legal tackle?
Run It Straight. So it's 2 people that sprint as quickly as
Yeah.
they can into each other. He's going to run over you.
Nah. My man.
I'm on the fence. Can we
man.
just see this live? I'm gonna need a tiebreaker.
You are now running up against the tighthead version of Steve. There is mass here, my boy. There is mass here. Run around every day of the week. Run over. No chance.
Okay.
No chance. I'm just thinking, producer James just basically got this whole series lined up where he's going to start running it straight with us, and I'm not sure I'm in for it, actually.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like, I love this because I want to ask, do you think that Stevie P will step me?
You know what? You wouldn't.
I love that. That's brilliant.
You know, if I did, you wouldn't have been the first, nor will you ever be the last. Right, well, here's your trial lie. Give us your yay or nay to those questions, and surely you got to back Stevie P. There's momentum here. You're not running over this rig.
Okay. These shoulders have bumped a lot of players before. Just telling you.
Yeah, I'm not back. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got the Maul of Fame / Shame segment. Every week we look at a clip and we will be updating our Maul of Fame on the left and our Maul of Shame on the right. First of all, we've got to recap last week's candidate, which was the red card from England. So last week that card got given a converted try from Renaldo, a converted try from Wes, a converted try from Steve, and a converted try, and just a try from producer James. The fans gave it a 5, and so it is a total of 31 points. We'll have a look at the clip, and just a reminder, but that will now officially go into our Maul of Shame. It is our top of the Maul of Shame, so that'll go right to the number 1 spot, and that was for this red card.
Yep. Bad, eh? England's under 20s. I think that costed them their spot in
Correct.
the final against a very good South African team. Yeah.
Yeah, so that is going to go to the top of our Maul of Shame. And then this week we now have the Maul of Fame, and it's going to be a fun one. We've had the massive hit from the prop at Pirates Rugby Club.
Yep.
We're now going to be looking at another prop doing the business. Our candidate for this week's Maul of Fame is none other than Mr. Carl Usari for this masterclass.
Just look at that work there. Yo, pop.
This is the one. This is the one. And this is on Wales ball.
Correct.
Thanks. Look at that. I mean, that's just
Phenomenal.
I mean,
That's
he was
phenomenal.
halfway to Cape Town.
I don't think that the tears before the game were emotion. I think they were tears of joy because he was so excited to do this at an international
he's had
level.
a journey as well.
Just-
So it's phenomenal to
yes.
see him being able to do this. Yeah, so
I mean, somebody who was however many centimeters away from potentially a fatal
yeah.
injury, the same injury that
Kitsy.
that's sideline Kitsoff, eventually gets the call to the box, and so. Gentlemen, we've got to give this something between a 3, 5, or 7. Penalty, try, or converted try. Ronaldo, where you at?
Oh, converted try for me.
Converted try.
It's just phenomenal work, and I think Uncle Don will be very happy with that. But I do think just the quality of it is just phenomenal, and I think he'll do that at different levels as well. Yeah.
I don't even think it's a converted try. I think it's a penalty try. Let the kicker run back to the halfway line. There's nothing better in this world than watching a tight head do his job.
That's brilliant.
That is why he's picked. That is why he was crying. That's exceptional.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of maybe I'll give it just a try because we need to try and be prepared. But I can't watch Wales be put back on their own ball by a man on debut after the story he had and not give it a full 7-pointer. So we're around the point, full 7-pointer. You guys need to give your take over here. 3, 5, or 7. We'll tally up the average for the fans and to producer James's score. And next week we will see where that ranks on the Maul of Fame. Right, gentlemen, to wrap up, we are at the next phase. Probably brought to you by MyPicks. If you have not already, please make sure you go on to mypicks.app. You can predict the team that Rusty is going to pick. You're going to predict the scores. You can rate the players afterwards. You can get all your stats, your full breakdown on mypicks.app, as well as other sports, not just the rugby. And they are our power partners for the next phase, which has gone very, very badly for Steve since the beginning. And the question we need to ask is, Wes, who started off with a measly 11 points and started to gain, how much gains has he made? And does he still linger in 4th place? Speaking of Wes, he is with us. Got a little magnet there, so he's in there with us in spirit. That was basically his face when we asked him if he knew anything about rugby based on his picks. Ronaldo, you had a good week last week, and but I think we were both quite frustrated. I played the Hail Mary. I went with a Ireland win.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I don't think Argentina was that hell of a Mary, and then I also went with Scotland big, and Scotland decided to play the Scotland C team.
Yeah, they went back in the shell there.
Yeah,
which is
so not happy with what happened.
No,
it was a tough weekend.
Tough weekend, I must say, tough weekend. But also it's a situation of the odds sometimes are in your favour and sometimes they're not.
Yeah, and doing this before, the problem is not every team's like Rusty announced their team on Monday. So we're sitting there saying Scotland's going to put 60 because Finn Russell's back, and then they say, okay, but he's not playing.
He's not playing anymore.
But let's do a bit of an update because in fourth place, which is red, is Producer James.
Oh, hela.
So Wesley has come from behind, and you know what?
Is that true? Sorry, because producer James actually has 83 and Wes has got 74. Apologies.
It is apologies. I lie like a fat fish. Well, that's depressing because I thought that was me. Wes, I backed you. And,
Can we just say, Wes, we backed you because we think that you're better.
No, Wes.
Be better, Wes. Come on, Wes.
Wes, you're hopeless. You're at 74.
Sorry,
yeah.
Wes. We are going to say the following, Wes, though. Just because you're not here doesn't mean you can't be better. Be better, Wes.
The Steve Borthwick hand on the head of shame to good old Wes. You should actually put that next to Steve because he's lost the plot. So I'll put the Steve Borthwick.
I didn't want to sing Steve, but lost the plot. Tra la la la.
Well, then that's good news. That's good news to a certain degree. Okay, so then in third place, we have not had a change. Producer James continues to soldier on.
Can I just say producer James in the background was like, whoa.
Yeah, we're about to catch
Had a hernia worrying that the crowd might think he's lost.
Correct. Oh, brilliant.
Steve is unfortunately still in second place, and the Hail Mary did not pay off.
Stevie.
Why would a red pen over here? Where am I green? Yeah, maybe I can claim the colorblind because notice how the Wales are playing white, eh? Because the red and green are apparently very similar.
I
So,
hear you, Stevie. We're not going to accept it, but we hear
Steve's
you.
here at 86,
Producer James catching up though.
Yeah.
and Renaldo. Well, he's raised the bat.
Yeah.
There we go.
102.
We'll buy him a stump
You know
or a
what's-
rugby pole.
And you know what's bad about that is that I got my predictions wrong because my notes that I had with me here was contradicting what I was saying. So I would have.
Sounds like excuses.
I know.
I just hear
I should have had
excuses.
150 already.
But Renaldo, you currently have the cap, so you get the Rusty look of approval. Wes, you're getting the red card. Steve's getting Steve Borth because he's been nowhere this evening, and then that was James' reaction when Steve decided to put him in fourth.
Yeah.
Right, so that's the first set of the next phase. No international rugby this weekend, so the next phase will kick off in terms of our predictions when we get to the Greatest Rivalry Tour starting in just a couple of weeks.
Yep.
We do, however, have a big question, a bit of a prediction for the lads, and that is come the 22nd of August, All Blacks versus South Africa. First test of the Greatest Rivalry Tour at Ellis Park. Name a bolter, a player that maybe a year ago we wouldn't have thought would be starting in this test. Somebody with maybe a few caps or even brought back, or not a mainstream player. Who wants to put the proverbial cock on the block first?
You going first?
I'll do it. My big prediction is I think Embrose Papir will start as the scrum half.
I like that.
He is by far the informed scrum half in South Africa. He's deserved his comeback into the side, and I think it's now time for Rassie to put his trust in Embrose Papir.
It's a bold call. I like it. He's backed it up. He's come with his things. I'm not mad at that.
But do you think that was just because of the noise that people made out of Ambrose's performance in the URC? Because he was not as good in the Champions Cup. The Bulls lost big games because Ambrose and Andre didn't perform. And that's big stage. Is it URC noise that South African public put on? And that's what happens. You know, there's a lot of that pressure, or is it valid?
I hear you. You've made a great point, but at the same time, the Bulls are not picking their strongest side in the Champions Cup.
Okay.
As much as Ambrose didn't perform as well there, it's also about the players that are around you.
Fair enough.
You've got the likes of Villiers Leroux playing fly half in the Champions Cup. So it becomes difficult. He won 7 man of the matches in the last, call it, 10 games for the Bulls. Andre was, we all know, far off his best. And that Bulls side still made the final before the wheels came off. And then again, we know that certain players like Andre Pollard once they put on that green and gold, just rise to the occasion. And I do think Ambrose will be that man.
Well, the one thing I can say is you're almost starting with a guaranteed try, because his try scoring record in the last how many games is very good.
100%.
I like the thing. I like the thinking there. Ronaldo,
I think Carlos Sari is going to start.
Oh, I love that one. Love that one.
I was so close to that as well.
I
I almost
love
stole
that
it off
one.
of you, yes.
Yeah, perfect. Well, I thought you can. I mean, if you think about the way in which, not because they've played. For me, Bordeaux has been phenomenal in the way in which they've dominated over the years, and Carlo's been pivotal with the way in which they've gone and consecutively performed well. So for me, and this is the argument I want to use is, for me, if a player gets picked to play against All Blacks, you should have been able to have played against the top tier nations at a domestic level and performed. Yeah. I mean, the Bordeaux, the way in which they've just demonstrated in the top 14 and Champions Cup for me is just phenomenal. So I think Carlos Sardri, and I know it's going to be a tricky one. He might not start, but I think he will probably finish.
Yeah, I think the starting is not bad. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Zach Walton on the bench. So I wouldn't be surprised if we potentially
Over a Wilco Low.
might see. I think Carlos Sardi's got a case, to be honest.
100%.
So yeah, look, I like that one. I've got a couple of interesting predictions, but they're not really bolters.
Come on, Stevie, tell us.
My bold prediction is if Sia is fit and if there are a couple of lock issues, Pierce Toy starts in the second row. That's my one. In terms of a bolter, though, I think it's probably the obvious one. But I think leading the bomb squad F in the second half will be Paul de Villiers.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
I think without Kwaka Smith, there it is.
Write that.
My only question to you is, what about Marco van Staden? Rassie likes his hybrid players. Marco van Staden covers hooker, he covers
So you
flank.
don't need him at hooker because Damien Willemse was practicing.
And fair enough, so was Paul de Villiers. And in that Wales game this weekend, Paul de Villiers put through a little chippy. So if we need a fly half,
yeah, so maybe
I retract my statement.
Paul de Villiers at 10.
That's a hybrid play if I've ever seen one.
Love that. That's brilliant.
Yeah, well, I think yours I almost really hope that yours comes true because I'm such a big Carlos Sardi fan after everything he's gone through.
One other one that I have that I think is probably a little bit out of. I think Yakin Ahmed will play against I think he's going to play for the Springboks before the end of the year.
I like that.
I think Yakin Ahmed is going to come in, and I think he's probably going to play end of the year. He's going to
At 10.
Probably 10 or 15. Yeah.
Or off the bench, I suppose, could come on.
Off the bench.
Fair
I
enough.
think he's just been. He was unlucky because he had an injury earlier this year, and I do think already being part of the London camp, already played against the Barbarians, already understand the culture, already that, and then blowing the lights out properly at the Junior World Cup. I mean, imagine going to the Junior World Cup and being told by the public, and I'm not saying the coaching staff, I'm not saying about the experts, by people, why isn't Vusi Moyo going to the Junior World Cup?
Yeah.
That's a bit of a slap in the face, saying that I can't go lead the team, and he did phenomenal. So I do think he's good. I mean, a lot of us are forgetting Riley Norton. I think Riley Norton
he'll also get a cap by the end
might
of
get
the
a
year.
cap, and he might actually play. So yeah, a couple of them. For me, those two Junior Boks, and they're actually Boks because they were there. So yeah, I think they did a
agreed.
good job.
Agreed.
Cool. Well, we'll have to wait and find out for a bit longer for those predictions to see them come through. But a big shout out to MyPicks for powering the next phase segment.
Absolutely.
We're going to return to that scoreboard at the end of the year. The good news is for the Grand Rivalry Tour, we get a brand new one. And Wes in particular, do a bit of research, read a book, watch a Stormers game, do something. Because this has been a poor effort. Yeah, you come back, but this you can't be having that again. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in to another episode of The Mad Show. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. And please make sure you subscribe to the channel. You can listen to this on Spotify and the likes of that. Get your questions in the comments. Go and vote for the Maul of Shame, which this week is the Maul of Fame, for Carlos Sardi, the lad. And every Wednesday, we will see a new episode of this. Connor, thanks for jumping in. Renaldo.
Amazing. Well done, Connor.
Thank you.
Enjoyed chatting with you. Thanks, Stevie P.
And we'll see you on Rugby Unlocked very soon as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Quite excited to see you guys there.
Until the next time, make sure you subscribe to the channel And we'll see you guys all soon.
Lovely. Lovely.